What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Kumite Lifestyle Podcast. Today's guest is someone who truly lives the lifestyle on and off the mat, Kamran Madani, also known as Coach Cam. Kamran is a former elite USA Karate athlete, national champion, World Games medalist, Pan American Games gold medalist, mental performance coach, and now a coach helping shape the next generation of athletes. In this episode, we dive into his journey growing up in a karate family, making the national team at a young age, competing in both Kata and Kumite, dealing with pressure, burnout, identity, and the moment that made him realize athletes need more than medals. They need support, mindset, purpose, and someone who truly understands the process. We also talk about coaching, sacrifice, travel, culture, and the future of karate and what it takes to build champions from the inside out, and how his Coach Cam brand is helping athletes develop confidence, discipline, and mental strength beyond competition. Before we jump in, make sure you follow us on all social media and listen to the Kumite Lifestyle Podcast, now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else you can listen to podcasts. I also want to give a huge shout out to today's supporters of the show, which includes Delaware Bushido Academy, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Smyrna, White Belt Surfer, and Tori Wellness Center. Now let's sit back and let's welcome Kamran, Coach Cam Madani. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kumite Lifestyle Podcast. And today we're joined by Kamran Madani, who is, he's making waves in the USA Karate world. He's done so much, and I'll let him take it away. But first, Kamran, thank you for joining us, bro. And how are you doing today?
We are here on one of the best places to be. As far as karate podcasts go, I'm stoked. I've seen a lot of the clips, seen a lot of the other episodes. A lot of my friends have been on so far, some of my colleagues. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you, Nick, for having me. This is going to be a great time.
Absolutely. And for those watching, let's go back in time. So I met Kamran kind of unofficially back in 2010. So I guess we're kind of dating ourselves here. But so we met back in 2010 initially, and we just had a talk a little bit off air before we started, and I know you said you were 13 at the time, but I remember you being this kind of energetic kid coming up, and you had you loved being, wherever you were at. You always had a smile on your face like you do now, and that was so that was kind of my first memory of you. And then kind of over the years, I saw your career kind of unfold, just like all the other athletes that we've kind of grown up with. So it's kind of like my connection with you. And now I know that you're running a very successful business. You've helped a lot of amazing athletes, and you still continue to do, folks that I know in this industry. So I just want to, before we even start, man, I just want to thank you for what you're doing for the martial arts and just human beings, because I mean, I know you're 29 and you're you're still very young, and you've done a lot for just people. And I know you don't need me to hear you, I know you don't need me to hear you say that to you, but it's just, I think that's important to note, you know what I mean?
Well, let's just take a pause real quick, because first and foremost, can you just come with me everywhere I go, man? I need that. I'm always the one gassing the people up, or, making sure that they feel grounded in the situations. But sometimes, it's difficult, right? We're always pushing ourselves. So I appreciate everything you've said. And yeah, we do go back. 2010, I was 13 years old. That was my second year trying out for the junior national team. In 2009, that was the first year that for USA Karate that they allowed the 12 and 13-year-old division to be eligible to go to junior Pan Ams. Yeah. So then right on 2009, made the team. 2010, we're at nationals, made the team there, and basically never looked back. At that time, I was still primarily a Kata and Kumite athlete, so I remember making the team for both. And then it just kind of proceeded on from there. But I appreciate everything you said. This sport is, I tell athletes all the time, don't attach sport to life, right? They're not linked. I never want someone to feel good about themselves just because they're a good athlete and bad about themselves because maybe things are not going the best on the athletic side. The challenge with karate, though, is that, the mantra for it is that it's a way of life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of holistic approaches that take place within our sport. And for the community, for everything that we have going on, the energy, the interactions, the connection, the whatever else it might be, just in the way that we have to practice basics 1,000 times over and over and over again, life is integrated into this sport in a lot more ways than just your performance. So it being the way that it is, I'm very grateful that it brought us back here to this point only a few years later. And it's a testament to a lot of the things that we'll talk about, I'm sure, today, and how everything interweaves itself in the core essence of level by level, step by step. Everybody's trying to get better. Everybody's trying to do something. Someone cares about something, and that something is where I fill in that gap then to say, hey, here's how we work towards those goals. And I appreciate you saying all those things. So
Yeah, man, absolutely. And it's, I've had a chance to kind of research you, and like there's quite a few folks, like I said, that have prescribed to you, and they recommended me to you. So, for anyone that I bring on, I always do a little bit of research just for, clarity and just to kind of see what I'm working with. And I know that you've also, run a podcast too before in the past, and it's no easy work because if you want a good product, you want to make sure that it's done correctly. And I love how you mentioned that you fill in the gaps, because I think on paper, when, like when you see an athlete like yourself or anyone that we can name, just, recently or in the past, it's easy to gauge success and thinking, oh, like this person's obviously good because, they have money, or they have, the right coaches or the right facilities, where a lot of times you don't even know what's going in, what's going on, in the background, if you will. So I like how
totally.
I like how you said specifically how you fill in that missing piece that like a lot of athletes, well, everyone is missing. So I wonder, man, when did you start doing that, as far as instilling and being that positive kind of like almost filling in the gap, if you will, because I'm sure that started before you, officially launched your brand. But I'm curious to know, like, when did you, Cameron, realize, like, okay, there's something missing in an athlete's mindset, whether they're competing, training. So yeah, like I'd love to hear that.
Totally. Let's just backtrack. So everybody has like their base, right? So your base dojo, wherever you start, right? The first day you're learning all of your basic techniques. When it comes to your mindset, a lot of your foundation is built on the way you grow up and just the approach of how you live your life, the world around you.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, early on, man, motivational talks with my dad were just the thing. Both my parents are immigrants, so the word hustle is ingrained in the DNA. Being a first generation baby, I just saw two people consistently work to not only build a life, but try to make the best life for both their kids, being myself and my sister,
Yep.
every single day. And it didn't matter how many hours the day was. It felt like they stretched 24 to 36 to 48 hours just in one day to get
Yeah.
everything done, make sure I was fed, make sure I was at school, get all the work done, and make sure we had clothes, house, this, that, everything. So coming up from that environment as a kid, that's all I saw. So when it came to then, a lot of kids now in my dojo, for example, they get overwhelmed with having to do quote unquote so many activities. And now there is a barrier, right? There is a line to say, hey, it's too much. That's it's going overboard. But a lot of times it went school, straight to dojo, straight to then basketball practice, and then I'm up until 8, 9, 10 doing homework, boom, sleep, right back into it next day.
Yeah.
So if you're in middle school doing this, right, and that's normal life, then there's no other choice once you get to then the higher ranks, or you're trying out for something like the US team, doing something else. That is just ingrained in the whole system.
Yeah.
And you're gonna tell me that I'm gonna go through it pouting or making a sad face or anything like, come on, man. Like there's no other choice. So then we fast forward, and I'll tell you right now, I have never said this on another podcast, but the first time I really wanted to quit, and I'm not just talking about quit my sport, but quit everything to the point
Yeah.
where I wanted to quit life, was when I was 17 years old. I'm ranked number 2 in the world, US team captain, our youngest brand sponsored athlete to ever come out of karate. Not just saying this to gas me up, but I'm setting the scene for then everything felt empty.
Mm.
Everything felt empty. I'm supposed to be this prodigy child doing all these great things. USA, woo, awesome. Dojo is about to be mine, all this stuff. And man, I wanted nothing to do with it.
Mm.
And some people call it burnout. Some people call it depression. Some people call it just, oh, you needed to take a break, whatever it might have been. That moment was the first moment where I tell you, Nick, that I learned that there's more to this than just, punching and kicking and making sure that I can win a match. That was the first time I felt empty. That was the first time I felt alone. That was the first time I didn't know what to do with the rest of my life or who I wanted to be or where it fit into the whole thing. And it's the first time that this thing that I love since before I was born was now not giving me the fix of like, I feel satisfied in who I am, what I'm doing, and I didn't know where I was going to go with it. That basically kicked this switch. And shout out to my parents. They helped me do everything. They helped me do everything. We went, they were like, all right, take a month off. Make sure you go see a new coach. Try this thing out. Maybe we need to try a new training system. So you do a different sport to help you back this sport. Do we need to go do emotional regulation through like, are your hormones off balance just because you're a teenager, right? We did everything. And the one thing that stood out is a black belt at our dojo, and he's now a psychiatrist. He's one of the head psychiatrists for Denver Medical Anschutz, or sorry, Anschutz Medical Hospital. And I had to sit down with him, and I was like, "Why do you want me to go talk to this guy?" And my dad was like, "Just go talk to him. Maybe if anything, he could point you the right direction, like of something to do, the next steps." So I sit down, and I kid you not, 30 minutes later, man, it's like a Niagara Falls under my eyes, man. I don't know what happened. This new access point was unlocked. Boom! I'm crying. I'm letting all these emotions go. I'm like, what the heck is happening to me? Oh, I'm melting in front of this guy right now. And it was the first time where it was triggered in me that, man, I'm more than just the medals. I'm more than just this guy that's supposed to be the smiley, energetic. I'm more than just a brand sponsorship deal that if I lose, I'm going to lose the sponsorship, or this might be, or I have to show up to the dojo to teach, or anything else that might have been, or my grades have to be. I for once, it felt like I was more than that moment. And when that happened, everything clicked to say, I want to be the guy that fills that gap. I want to be exactly that person to where as soon as that athlete is feeling that way, I never want another person to feel like this in front of me. And I want to be the person that can fill that gap and fix or help. If I can't fix, be able to be the one that helps, directs, moves the person in the right direction. So it started all from that moment to where then we can look at the next 10 years afterwards, going up until where we are now, 10, 12 years, is where I've dedicated everything in my being to that moment.
Dude, that's crazy how that one unexpected moment, kind of opened up a whole nother, I don't want to say reality, but a whole nother possibility for you. And
Totally.
I love and bro, one of the reasons why this podcast exists is, being vulnerable, just having these raw, authentic conversations, and the one that you just shared. And you said something that I think that I don't believe that is preached enough, where you were at this point in your life where you made the team, you were the captain, you're the second in the world, and you have all these sponsors. So the outside looking in, it's like, man, this, like, he hasn't made, like there's no reason why he should be upset or frustrated or angry. So any type of emotion, like, you could be upset, but he's like, oh, he's just spoiled, or, oh, he's just having a bad day. And dude, like, I feel that now for like celebrities, musicians, or even just athletes, where, we have this painted picture of what we assume is going on in their life. But I feel like the more that is expected of you, that pressure, of course you're going to have all those emotions. But if you don't have, a place where you can regulate it, it's like, where do you put it? You either just keep it in. So that moment when you were kind of like outlashing, if you will, or just like, sharing your heart and soul, that's what you needed. So it's amazing how that one moment, Cameron, is what not defined you, but it kind of allowed you to grow. And maybe that's the word for it. But dude, that's amazing how, like, you turned that into a positive.
No, we have to. There's really no other choice, right? Like, man, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. Our clock is only going in one direction. As much as I would love to say, hey, I'm going to pause this life right now and say I'm going to stay 29 for the next, month and a half or whatever it might be, and just keep going. For everybody, it's going in one direction, right? It's almost the same exact point. I hold that same exact, philosophy is whoever walks into the dojo, I see they have their karate clock start.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be a part of the dojo for a month. I don't know if they're going to be a part of the dojo for 10 years, 20 years, or for life, right? But that clock starts. And now, knowing that clock starts, I want them to have the best possible experience being at the dojo, training this sport for that amount of time, whatever it might be. Now, keeping that in mind, right? Like, I have students, I see parents of students that are no longer training with us, but that time that I have with that student is done now.
Yeah.
the same exact way that my time as a competitor, as an athlete, is done now. So making sure that we're fully present, fully aware, and taking everything we can out of those moments is just a key pillar of trying to have the best possible human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that you've like once you discovered that there's a missing gap,
Mhm.
um, did you start implementing that, kind of right away for your own self, or did you, start outsourcing that to your peers and your friends? Like, hey, I just realized like there's, like I had this moment, with this other human being where it was so like defining, or did you kind of keep that kind of reserved for a bit, and then you started to implement it? So you realized that there was an issue, as in, that's always a cliche saying, like,
Yeah.
first step is like obviously identifying that there's a problem. So when you realized that there was a problem and you were able to cope and fix it and move forward, when did you decide to launch your brand, to where it is today?
Yeah. So that's a very loaded question, I'll be honest with you. So I'm
Sure.
not going to try and yap for too long, but for anybody listening, I feel like this is going to be like, there's 2 points I want to go off of, and then we'll build from there. But this first one is going to be a super, super common theme that I feel a lot of people will relate to is this.
Yeah.
Being in the position I was, I don't want to tell you I didn't have friends because I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of peers, but I don't think I had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is when you are trying to achieve or be in this kind of weird phase of like, I only have these hyper fixated goals and I have this super specific schedule that not many other people can relate to. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is one of my athletes recently this past week was like, man, it's kind of crazy in my life that all my friends live in other places. And I was like, well, let's time out real quick. You're one of the few people that is consistently trying to strive for this top tier goal. Finding people who relate to you is a difficult task. It's hard. It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that people can't relate to you, but someone who can understand that path, that process, they're not. It's not a common theme.
Yeah.
And if it is, then maybe it's in a different category, which makes it hard for, we just don't speak the same sport language. So then for me, a lot of the cases was like, because I didn't have like a lot of people around me that were in this similar situation who I could go off of, talk to, this, that, whatever. It wasn't about being reserved or not letting people know. It just meant, okay, I need to figure this out for myself, have a grounding point for myself. And then I can start approaching it to then what the next steps are and how I'm interacting with my environments.
Yeah.
The second kind of phase where all of this happened, a lot of people love karate in the Olympics, and I am a big proponent for it. But that phase going into the Olympics, because now it's been far enough to where people are forgetting, was one of the most difficult, challenging, borderline toxic points for athletes because you were stretched. You were stretched, man. I'm talking stretched to the point where everybody was at a breaking point all the time.
Yeah.
The Premier League and Series A circuit is considered light compared to what we were going through for 2.5 years consistently.
Hmm.
So that could be a whole separate point. But then
Yeah.
the second thing that I wanted to mention is this. I love information, but the thing I'm going to use this word, hate, is how. Nobody gives how. Right? We could sit here and do all this stuff. So I'm gonna ask you, okay? This is a very simple question that I ask a lot of athletes as soon as I jump onto a conversation. And this is a hard one for people. But ready? I want you to be able to define yourself with 3 words. What would 3 adjectives that you would use to help define yourself be?
Motivated, humble, and a go-getter.
Beautiful. So then what I would do is I would take you through these 3, and we usually amp it up to 5, going on to 8, but then I want you to define each one of these things. So that if we say motivated, how is that different than a go-getter, right? And then if that's happening, how is that different from the next thing? And how is that different from the next? Because then maybe your version of motivated is one thing. My version of motivated might be a different thing. So understanding these kinds of different gaps in the languages is basically the first step. And believe it or not, a lot of athletes don't know who they are. As soon as I ask them, hey, listen, define yourself with 5 adjectives, man. 5. That's it. Just 5 words.
Yeah.
Oof. Coach Cam, why are you asking me all these crazy questions? I'm like, it's not that big, it's not a big question, right? Because we tie ourselves to so many different things that are happening in our environment consistently.
Yeah.
Right? Consistently. I'm worried about what Nick's going to think of me or what everybody else is going to think after listening to this podcast, right? So then I'm attaching myself to all these different things. So then if we slow down, just think for a second on the how. That's where I come in. That's what I wanted to do. And when we're talking about anything brand related, my brand is still building.
Yeah.
Technically, Coach Cam has been an official company, if you will, for only a year and a half. But Coach Cam has been building consistently from competition to working with other people. Man, I've been teaching karate since I was 14, 15 years old. So interactions with people has been not just for the time that Coach Cam has been around. The 10,000 hours has been put in far beyond, but far before, I should say, the Coach Cam brand or the Coach Cam fam, if you will, started. It's been way before that. This has been step by step, building, always getting things wrong, always doing the wrong things, making sure that I can try to help an athlete, coming up short. And then we're finally at this point where now it's like, okay, cool. I'm figuring out my system, my rhythm, and how things come together.
Yeah. Dude, that so much was said there, and man, so much just life, so much truth. And you mentioned something how, even as athletes, we don't know who, like most athletes don't know who they are. Dude, most people don't know who they are. So when you said to almost like describe yourself with adjectives, it's like you kind of have to take a deep breath. But I think, yeah, we do kind of tie ourselves to so many different like outsources, if you will, and we're constantly being told, you got to do this, you got to do that, and that's kind of ingrained in us from the time like we're in like born. I feel, and again, everyone's upbringing is different, so
Totally.
it's interesting how that you've like figured out that you can like athletes like have the ability to figure that out. So that's awesome. I did want to ask. So I heard that you have one of the most amazing beautiful dojos out there. So if you don't mind, on
Sure.
top of what we're already talking about, I
Totally.
would love to hear about your dojo.
Yeah, yeah. So my time is split up into three main categories. Primary number one, what I grew up in is a dojo that my family built. My dad started karate. He's the primary. He's the founder. He's the one doing it all.
He's the
My
man.
my mom, believe it or not, because she's a high level referee, a lot of people think that she's the one that does karate. My dad does it now, funny enough. But no, it's quite the opposite. He paved the way. I just had a conversation with him yesterday. He said he's been refereeing now for over 40 years. He's been in the referee circuit for over 40 years.
Yeah.
So to put it into perspective, that's where it all stems from. And then, I mean, we're in a small little town. I don't want to call it a small little town. We're in a town just outside of Boulder, Colorado, called Louisville, Colorado. The
Yeah.
dojo's been around since 1990, so it's a little older than me. And I mean, I love it. It's where I spend all day, every day. Coaching and teaching is all I do. And that's where I get up and, right after this, I'm going to my first lesson there and I'll be there until about 10 p.m. tonight. I do that 5 to 6 days a week. And that's how the basic rhythm is. The second segment is the Coach Cam side of things,
Yeah.
where I'm a mental performance coach and I help athletes from a wide array of sports, from rock climbing to karate to judo to basketball to anything else that you could possibly think of. I work with baseball players, I work with little league, all the way up to people who are about to go professional, and then same thing in the senior karate, Premier League circuit. I have athletes there as well. And then the third one is going to be then U.S. national team coach, which I am the head coach right now of Region 2, so my region of the U.S., which is
Yeah.
all the mountain states, and we making it happen over here. So,
Dude, man, you're constantly doing something, dude. And I love that the hustle never stops and that you're constantly like you're bettering yourself too while still bettering other people. And I love that you mentioned that you're still getting time to improve yourself because as an instructor, as a sensei myself, it's easy to pour ourselves, like our heart and souls into other people, but we forget to pour it in ourselves too. So
yeah.
it's cool that you still find that balance. Do you ever get I know this might be kind of a silly question, but are you ever like, are you always tired or how do you find time for
Yeah,
yourself
sure.
too, you know?
Well, let me ask you this. What's your quote unquote your balance, right? What's your version of like the fix, right? So I talk about the fix being like my one thing that I do to let go of everything is this, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times it's that what's that thing for you?
Yeah, well, just be very transparent. There's no such thing as balance. It's just focus of energy because you can't be balanced.
Amen.
But to answer your question though, I think when I'm doing this right now, so honestly, like podcasting, right? Just having these conversations has been a nice kind of way for me to kind of not detach from the world, but it's a good way for me to connect with, like you, for example. So in essence, I'm really connected to the world because I'm talking to another human being. So yeah, man, just I would say sitting down, just having these talks, because again, I don't have to do this, I get to. But if you want more of a, I guess, logistical answer. If I'm not here at the dojo, I love surfing. I love hanging out with homies. So I'm constantly doing something to either better myself, whether it's socially, physically, mentally, spiritually. But I don't know, man. I'm very happy with where I am in life. So maybe that's the balance. But again, I don't believe that there is a thing called balance. It's just shift the focus because I'm putting 100% of my time with you, Cam. But if I'm thinking about, oh, what's for dinner tonight, or like, what time's the first student going to come in, that that takes away from you, and that's something that I've had to learn as it transcends on the mats. Whether I'm surfing or even hanging out with my parents, man. Like as I've gotten older, I realized like, dude, our time on this earth is so finite, it's so small. And you mentioned that it's almost like I wish I could stop time, but that would not be reality. So I would say just shift the focus and just being present with what I'm doing every single moment.
Totally. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big proponent of what you said, and the key point of just being where you're at. The answer then to balance is that everybody's scale is a little bit different to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like, man, if you're trying to be an athlete, there's people that practice their sport for a hobby. There's people that practice their sport for excelling. And then there's people that are doing their sport to become the best. Right. There's no way you're going to find a 50-50 balance. And I think a lot of young athletes, including myself, have the big issue of thinking that scale should be 50-50. If I spend 50% of my time doing my work or my focus, my sport, my hardcore training, then 50% of my time needs to be spent not doing that.
Yeah.
When in reality, there's not that many hours in a day. I'll be honest with you.
Unfortunately, I know.
Unfortunately, it's not the case. And I think, exactly what you said is if you're driven to perform in a certain category or to achieve a certain thing, I'm sorry. It's not going to be 50-50, right?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, right? When you have that time and you're surfing, whether it's 2 hours, 30 minutes, or whatever, you feel good after it's done, right? Even if it's more session, right? Even if the session, the waves were right, maybe you know what I'm saying, like the lunar eclipse, right? Nothing's right, but I'm still feeling you feel great. You feel a release after you're done, right?
Oh yeah.
So then it's the same kind of vibe, right? For me, I see it as a 90 to 95 to 10 to 5. So my scale is tipped to the point where 95% of my time is in this zone. 90 to 95% of my time from a week standpoint is in that zone of I'm doing something. This is my current priority. This is what I'm doing. This is what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of people forget that because of the frustration kicks in where you're like, dude, I can't spend time with my friends. Or I feel like every time I'm doing this, I can't get around to my chores. Or every time I'm on this day, I just feel like I can't have that time to myself. This is what you signed up for. If this is actually what you want, this is what you signed up for. This is part of the list of responsibilities that come with trying to make something happen in whatever category you're in. If it's studying for the MCAT, man, or you're trying to become the lawyer, you're going to tell me that you're going to 50% the bar exam? It's not going to work like that. Thing takes time. Things takes effort, takes some borderline sacrifice.
Oh yeah.
So then that time for me is for me, it's cars. I love cars. For me, it's time with my dog. I love my dog. For me, it's doing stuff around watches. I love watches. So then that 5% or that 10% of time where I'm doing something like that, boom, as soon as it's done, I totally disengage from all that other stuff. So, but it's still something I love, I'm passionate about, and that'll give me the energy to go back. That's what the balance looks like for me. So then for you to say, are you always tired? Oh, I love being tired.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I love being tired. Not tired because I'm not taking care of myself, but tired because I'm actually doing something. I'm working towards something.
Yeah.
And if I'm tired doing that, man, I feel I'm pretty satisfied. Right? Recovery is important for everybody, but if you're not a little fatigued, a little tired, are we actually pushing? Are we actually trying to get somewhere?
So true. Yeah, because a lot of people, it's like that thing where, and I'm sure you've heard or seen it, I don't really party. Like, actually, I've never really been a big partier, but I do, occasionally love to hang out with friends. But, there's a saying that, people, they drink on the weekends, right? They party. But
Totally.
but what are you celebrating? It's like, what did you do? So I love the notion how you said you're tired, but it's a good tired because you know that you did something productive for sure. Dude, I would love to hear about how you became a national team coach at such a young age because
Yeah.
typically I've like in my mind I just thought like yeah you got to be at a certain point a certain age. I don't want to discriminate or anything like that, but typically
For
when you
sure.
think of like a team coach, man, they're like the Yoda of, karate, if you will. And it's not to dismiss your skill set, of course, because obviously you're very
Oh.
capable, but obviously USA Karate saw something in you. So what was the early talks like that? And like, how is that like, basically, what is it like to be a USA coach? Because I think that's amazing, from the
No,
outside looking in.
totally. It's a blessing. I'm going to start by saying that. Let me just start by saying that it is a blessing, and wow, being able to access this pool of athletes, this pool of people, just for the purpose that they push me to. I mean, there's nothing else. There's nothing else like it, right? Like if I'm around these athletes and they're showing up and they're sacrificing and they're doing exactly the things that you and I were doing
Yeah.
to make that they can go travel to do this stuff, how am I not gonna hustle for them? How am
Yeah.
I not gonna show up? How am I? Yeah, okay. You need. I don't care what medal it is that I've won. Pan American Games gold, World Games bronze, University Worlds gold, whatever it might be. I will be your water boy. You need a water boy? I got you. That's what's gonna happen right now. Right? You need someone who's gonna be then a full-on active coach in the sense of like motivating this, that. Perfect. You need me to shut up? I'll read the room. Right? That key component is oh gosh, I love this, man. I love this environment. I love being a part of this part. I love being around my colleagues and peers. You had Coach Dustin on earlier. Man, he coached me throughout the majority of my junior career. He was part of the crew there, and then I'll work alongside him and other people that I grew up with, and they having them be my coaches, and now they mentor me. This is cool. This
Yeah.
is a very, very special predicament I'm in, and I realize it every single day.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the accumulation of becoming a coach, I will say, shout out to Brody Burns.
Yeah.
He is a master planner, man. This guy, he sees into the future ways other people don't as far as what steps need to be taken. So I'm gonna rewind to another story, 2022. And this was an up and down year. A very up and down year to the point where, I was selected for the World Games, but I didn't really know what was beyond that. Olympics is no longer going to be a thing to where a lot of people told me that I was the 2024 hopeful. I had people from the US OPC come up to me and tell me, "Hey, we're not going to invest in you for this one, for the 2020 games. We're going to invest it for you for the 2024 games." And then to have that rug pulled out from underneath you and that support and those same people then just see you later, bye. After you go door to door trying to
Sell, your,
freaking
sell
grab
yourself.
money,
Yeah.
whatever you can to go to this next trip so that I hopefully get enough points to make it to this next thing, to go to this next place, whatever. I'm losing my mind throughout this whole process. I'm going through a master's degree program at the same time, whatever else it might be, all came down to this conversation. And I was like, listen, the World Games is my Olympics. I was sitting there with Brody, with Dustin. I'm sitting there. I'm like, the World Games is my Olympics. I'm gonna approach it like that. I'm gonna go for that. And he asked me, he goes, "Well, Cam, do you think you have another one in you, another World Games? Meaning, I'm gonna commit myself to another 4-year competition cycle." And I looked at him and I was like, "I don't know. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I don't know." And it's not because I don't see myself doing it. It's just I think that the dojo baby, if you will, people that have their parents be senseis, their timeline is fluctuated. It's not the same,
Yeah.
right? The amount of eyes that are on you from early on in your life, whether it's in the dojo, and then you scale that up to a national scene, and then now you scale that up to a world scene. the amount of pressure that's consistently put on the dojo babies, the me's, the Trinity Allens, the people like us in this scene is a little bit different. So I think our timelines shift a little bit depending on what's there. So that call to action of like, well, who's going to take over the dojo? Who's going to be the next person to do this? Is there, the coaches on the staff, they're burnt. They've been worked consistently for years now. Coming off of that Olympic cycle is difficult for them too. Who's going to be the support staff, right? Who are the coaches that are going to be coming up in that group? Are exactly what he was looking at in that conversation. And when I told him, hey, yeah, I don't think I got another one in me as far as another 4-year cycle, that sparked everything. He knows I love coaching. He knows that I was a full-time athlete and working with kids at the dojo to get other kids on the junior national team while I was still a senior national team member.
Yeah.
Right? Still making that thing happen. Then fast forward, one of the worst days of my life where, I don't make the team.
What year was this?
This was 2023 in January.
Oh, man.
I forced myself through a cycle. So I ended up breaking my leg in the World Games in my semifinal match, and then still went and fought, got the bronze medal. And then the recovery process for that was a very long, drawn out thing. And one thing led to another to the point where I almost had to re-identify who I wanted to be. The challenge was the trials and some personal challenges were taking place within the karate realm. And being the dojo baby and having your parents be in the scene, there was some back end stuff that was taking place. And unfortunately, that rippled into then my trials process.
Yeah.
I'm not going to blame it on that. In the end of the day, I lost. At the end of the day, I lost. It comes down to me. But having then now this thing where I've been consistently on this rise, and then all of a sudden, boom, it crashes, is the next redefining point. I walk off the tatami, and there's these posts going around about different things happening, and there's a lot of negative outlash on my last name at that point in time. And I remember the first person that showed up was Brody.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I saw what just happened. I want to get you back into a chair, and it's going to be a coaching chair as soon as possible. And, at that point in time, I'm feeling myself as far as like, man, screw this. I don't know if I want to be a part of this community right now. Is this where I want to be? My life has been devoted to this. My family's been devoted to this. And then to see that nothing but resent is coming back towards me and my last name. Do I really want to put myself in this environment again? So it took me all of a month. And then I call him and I said, hey, I don't know if I want to be under the magnifying glass this quickly after, is this my retirement? Do I stop? Do I not? And he goes, well, Cam, do you have another World Games in you? And I was like, crap, man, I don't. No, you're right. You got me.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's start the national trainer process.
I feel like that. I feel that that competitiveness, never leaves us because
no,
tired. Yeah. Like I'm sure even coaches when they're watching, and maybe you still, get those feelings like when you're watching some of your athletes compete and you're thinking, God, I miss this right now. Things I wish I was out there sometimes.
Well, and I'm so happy you said that. So without going into a whole separate story of it all, this is the thing that I, the very same way that I take any athlete or any person to go through their transition phase of their life, I had to do it for myself. So then the thing that came down to it, when I said, you know what, I'm going to do this, is that I realized throughout that last phase of my career, while it ended on maybe not the highest note, I was forcing myself to do something I really didn't want to do. And I realized this. Everybody wants to be champion, but I no longer want to go through the process of doing it.
Yeah.
So the thing that I miss about competition is not, there's some days where I'm training where I'm like, oof, I don't really like getting hit anymore. Like when you're a competitor and you're on that top spot, there's a feedback mechanism. There's this crazy part of your brain that kicks in. You're like, man, I need this feedback. I want to get hit a little bit. Like I need someone to go at it with me. But I lost all sensation of that. The feeling of being champion is addictive.
Yeah.
You're going back into competition only to feel like that again. You're almost always going to come up. 99% of the time, you're going to come up short. And so then for me, when I see my athletes win, I'm like, I miss that feeling right there. But the cool part is I get to share it with you now.
Yeah.
As far as the process to becoming a champion, I no longer have desire to go through that. I want to be a part of that process for others. And that's where my true motivation is. And for those reasons, I'm done. I have no miss of being an athlete. I have no miss of being an athlete at all. It's only that one pinnacle moment where you everything kind of comes together and you win. That's the only thing I miss.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have that same fix. I have that same feeling with the athletes that I work with. And now I get to go about this process in a different way.
Yeah, dude, that's a really good summary. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, yeah, maybe that's kind of the same way I feel as well. It's like, we always celebrate the high points, like, getting the medal or, standing on the podium or like even when the crowd's clapping for you, dude. That is such a surreal feeling that, it's kind of like, as you said, I wish I could pause those moments a little bit longer, but
A little longer for sure.
but you're right, man. The process is grueling for sure. I did have a quick question. So, kind of going back to like even 2010 when you were 13, and as you're rising through the ranks, I know there's a lot of great athletes that we've had a chance to either compete alongside, train alongside, or just
Totally.
collaborate with. But going through your career, Cam, who have been some of your counterparts that you've like I wouldn't say not looked up to because I know that's kind of a cliche thing, but who did you really connect and resonate with, or who did you look towards? Like, I want to be like that person because I know it's a realistic goal.
Mhm. I'm okay. Again, I really don't want to keep going on story after story after story.
No, dude, please, please.
It, I want to tell you right now that I had to define myself, and my teammates are pinnacle.
Yeah,
I have memories pop up of just videos, like stupid videos of just us laughing.
yeah,
It's a 4 minute video of just people laughing, like you're crazy, like a psycho, like an actual crazy person. And so my teammates were amazing people, still are amazing people. I'm happy that it's kind of surreal that when I transitioned to being a coach, the men's team that won PKF, I was teammates with the vast majority of those athletes, and now I'm on the coaching side with that same group. It is a pretty weird kind of thing to go off of. The thing that I tried to navigate was I want to pick apart and choose what works for me based off of what everybody else is. I'm not Nick. This is a super cool, amazing guy running the podcast. I'm not him though.
yeah,
But maybe there's something that he's doing that I can apply for myself directly, and I can use that going forward. I remember we were on the Premier League circuit, pre-Olympics. Luigi Busa, standout guy, did not have a good performance. Everybody knows Luigi. He's top guy, gold medal Olympics, amazing. Here's the habit that got him to that point. Loses at a Premier League, and he was day one or day two of competition. So then there was still one more day left. And I remember I showed up to the warm up area and I was chilling, man. I was like, man, screw this. I lost. I don't. I'm gonna go, man. We were out. Not we were doing anything crazy, but I remember I went out. I ate a bunch. Showed up to the arena bloated. I was chilling. And this boy was getting working.
yeah,
He was running reps like he was about to go fight again. He was running reps, man. Sweat, everything. Go, go, go. That thing right there, pinpoint moment for me. I took a
yeah,
mental image because now I'm like, okay, this is what the difference is between someone that just came up short and what am I doing about it right now, and someone who now then went on to becoming Olympic champion. But those are the habits. His next day was okay, perfect. Now I lost. I'm not gonna sit with this. What's my next step?
yeah,
So moments like that you see across many different athletes. But this is just one moment that I took for myself, and those are the things that really stood out for me. So for me, it was more about picking up the moments, the accumulation. I pride myself in training in almost every single continent.
yeah,
15 different countries. I learned the training systems for all the Middle Eastern countries, a lot of the Asian countries, what makes the successful European countries the way that they are. North Africa, I train there too, right? And so picking apart all of these different things that are making the athletes level up so much are exactly what I want to be able to take and then now be able to apply for the athletes that I work with.
yeah. So when you're in different parts of the world, like you just mentioned, is there a lot of similarities to what maybe someone like overseas is doing to what we're doing, or is there like man like there really is a wholly like not wholly but like totally different system as to what this country or that country is doing?
Yeah, the systems are different. I think
Yeah,
because of social media and just kind of the way the world is progressing now, the karate is the most similar it's ever been across the whole world.
yeah,
I'm a hot take, okay? Karate is the most similar it's ever been across the whole world because, we get to bring people over for seminars or, there's crossover training camps with different coaches, right? Like myself, I have my summer training camp coming up, but I'm bringing a coach, one of my buddies, all the way from Europe to come help work it with me. So giving those different looks, giving the different access to different systems. So karate is like the most equal I think it's ever been. Now, when you're looking at specific countries, the culture does play a piece.
Yeah.
Right? You're looking at Japan, where they're prospecting middle schoolers to then select which high school they get to go to based off of being on the karate team. That's not something that's common over here.
Yeah.
In North Africa, 1-2 with an ura on top is what they wake up and they have to do 20 times before they even get their breakfast, right? Like, you're seeing and so then, and I don't want to say that the culture, for example, of a lot of Middle Eastern countries or North Africa too is based on religion, but the discipline that comes up with their religion is what you see exactly in the format that they train. So during Ramadan, for example, one of my best friends, bronze medalist Abdurrahman Al-Masatfa from Jordan in under 67, he was telling me about his Ramadan routine, and that they would fast all day, do their things, and after iftar would happen, their first meal, then their first training would happen around 10:30, 11 p.m. Right. And so just like, there's not many athletes that you could think of in other countries that are like, that they would be like, whoa, you train at 2 a.m? How is that a thing? Right. But that's part of their culture. Right. So these kinds of things are building a mindset that go with it. Now, I will say for the US, I've been going off on a lot of different tangents today, but I really think this is, if there's one piece that I want anybody listening today to take away, is this one right here. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have an advantage in the US, and not many other people agree with me on that.
Okay.
Let's look at yourself. You're a high-level athlete, but you had to build a life as well with it.
Sure.
Your situation was not one that was handed to you. Your situation was not one that was gifted to you. Your situation was I have to build who the heck Nick is. And then I have to build this podcast. I have to build my athletic abilities. I have to be smart enough to go figure out what's going to work for me in my matches. I have to be a good enough sensei to then be successful of working and getting students. So you have to be a salesman. You have to be the best coach of all time. You have to be someone who's going to show up for yourself. And now you have to be a good interviewer. Come on, man. These are skills that are built from tasks-oriented things. Yeah. Reason why the US crushes it at the Olympics is because this athlete you see step on the stage is also a barista back home. What other country has this situation? Yeah. Right? We have to grind, grit, and find a way consistently. That builds a very special human being. Yeah. And now a lot of athletes come up to me and say, well, Coach Cam, man, they have it over there. They get to go to camp for 3 weeks at a time, and, they get their meals paid for, and they get this. I'm like, okay, cool. When they retire, do they have their degree like you? Do they have a secondary thing built up like you? Are they building a life where they get to actually help other people like you? No? Okay, cool. Sounds good. Cool. All right, great. Right? Right. It seems more difficult on the front side, but if it's not for the challenges that come up with it, I think we have a massive advantage here. And there's people like me, there's other really good coaches like yourself, like some of the other people that have been on the podcast, like other coaches coming up who have the same grit, determination, if not more than me in other categories, who are then able to help provide a circumstance where athletes can train now, act like a semi-professional athlete. Sponsorships are the most accessible that they've ever been. And then these guys are building up things outside of the sport. They're building up a brand for themselves. Go get the degree. Go other things. If you look at the senior national team for USA Karate, I can't speak on the AAU side just because I don't know. Yeah. But if you look at the senior national team for USA Karate, especially when I was on the team, still competing active, our average schooling was 4 years of college. That was our base, man. Yeah. You're looking at, of the, 12 athletes that were on the senior national team while I was competing, I can count right now, just without even thinking about it, 5 of them, 6 of them, so 50% is in the master's degree range. Yeah. Right? So you're talking about educated people hustling for goals. Nick, what else do you want, man? Come on. Yeah. This is a recipe for good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting how you were sharing, some of the insights from the different countries, and, they're saying the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but it's easy to compare. And as they say, comparison is a thief of all joy. I have a quick story that I think that you'll love. When I was in Italy
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when I was back in Italy, and I share this all the time just because like it's always after the fact, right? Because as we get older, like we can reflect on situations, kind of the stories that you're like, sharing right now. And it means a little bit more as we get older because whether we've experienced something similar or whether we can process it. So there was a, defining moment. And I also want to kind of ask you a similar question as a follow up. But when I was in Italy, we had a rule where you couldn't walk alone. Like you had to always have at least another team member with you. So it's like the buddy system. Made sense. I was all for it. So we were kind of in this kind of like this old not Coliseum, but this venue that was kind of old, if you will. So I remember walking into the restroom and I didn't have to go to the restroom myself, but I was just waiting for, one of my team members. And dude, out of nowhere, this Bosnian kid or maybe Serbian kid comes in, and he was an athlete. I could tell because he's wearing his jacket. He comes in, doesn't say anything to us. He was kind of like, like not mean, but like you could tell like he was there for a purpose. So he comes into the restroom and his purpose was to wash up. And bro, like he starts like stripping his clothes down and dude, the water was freezing. It was October. I'll never forget. And I'm like, damn, like, so like, I'm not trying to look at him. I'm like, okay, like that's interesting. So finally, yeah, my buddy gets done. And dude, like the whole day, because I wasn't competing that day, but I had time to like, process like what just happened. So then later that evening, I'm not sure if you know Coach O'Hara, but he was our head coach. And he was asking us, he was like, man, like, guys, like, what was something that you took away from the, competition? And of course, everyone's like, oh, I did this, I got third, I punched this dude or whatever. And like, I'm thinking, like, I raised my hand and I said, Coach, I got to be very honest. And I'm going to paraphrase, but there was this moment in the restroom, just like I described to you. And he kind of smiled and said, yeah, Nick, I'm glad that you shared that because just so everyone is aware. And like, dude, there's like 80 people on this team and the parents. And he said, yeah, the moment that Nick's talking about is a very, profound moment because a lot of these athletes from these other countries, they're like living on the buses. Some of these countries traveled weeks just to get there. And, talk about third world problems. Here we are as Americans, we're spoiled. Like we're in this nice hotel. Everyone has their phones and like, people are complaining that there's no service or connection. And thankfully, like I was always raised in a sense where, I have two amazing parents that, they taught me what's right, what's wrong, but also to be appreciative. So like, that was just like for me, bro, because you talk about when you were going back to the venue and you saw that guy working out even though he lost and you're like snacking away on food, like for me that was my moment, Cam. I said, damn, like this kid, like he's like going through it, he probably hasn't eaten and he's just like washing up. And dude, there's something to be said about these international fighters, and I know you've seen it, like they have more of a chip on their shoulder because they want it more, I feel, and like they are not afraid to hurt the US team.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I posed a question for you, like, and I know you kind of mentioned it when you lost and then you went out and then you came back and you saw, that athlete. But when you were overseas, because you have a lot of experience, as aside from competing, was there ever like redefining moments in your life where maybe you saw a different, culture or just like a moment where you're like, dang, like it is tough out there, So like the things I hear on the news or see in movies, like it's legit over here. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I'll preface it by so both my parents are originally from Iran.
Yep.
So I mean they met here in the US and then voila, I'm here, But yeah, but I've had the privilege of being able to go travel to train, yeah, in just about, I mean, think about Egypt, great. Iran, awesome. Japan, done it. France several times. Right. And so you just keep this rotation happening. And the one thing I encourage all people, all athletes, so I mean, we grew up from cultural backgrounds, so not totally American system. I'm the kid that showed up to school with smelly kebab. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah.
how I grew up. Like that's, my mom was like, if you're not gonna eat this, no, the smell is good for you. It's whatever it might be, right?
I
So
love kebab, just to be very
let's
transparent.
go. And I think the majority of people do, but when you're in third grade and this kid is like, what is that? Like, did
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
fart? And it's like, no, it's my food, I swear. Right? And so
It can be soul crushing, because it's good, but it's hard to explain that. I get it.
third grade Cam was not quite salesman yet, So, but I encourage everybody to travel and just be immersed in it. And the cool part about your story, the cool part about our experiences is you don't meet, it's not a tourist you're meeting. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a real in it human being. So
Yeah.
the cultural feel that you're getting from these people is the realness. And you're adding the element of stress, competition, and that whole layer to it all. You're getting a very different version of what then you would see anywhere else. So you're talking about what you see on media or anything like that. Like that's I don't know. Icing on the cake, if you will. Like you're getting a real life exposure to it all, to the point where, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe people listening know who, you know, my two closest athletes as far as age and like my brothers. One of them's Emre Kavanch, and he's under 84, and then Edward Sigilian, he's in plus 84, and those are two of the U.S. team athletes for the U.S. I took to Egypt with me in 2022 for a Series A. We did a training camp right before it.
Yeah.
We are training, I kid you not, on like a basketball court blacktop that has tatamis laid down, a fence going around it, and then really crappy like shed overview is what the roof is, but it's open air. And this tatami is black. Let me tell you, this thing is dark. Like it is, that red turned into to gray. Okay. And so the training finishes, and we run this practice with, you know, some of the local athletes in the club. And man, our bodies, like our clothes are stained black, dark black, and everybody else is happy it can be. Like this is very normal for everybody else. Man, I grew up in a very privileged dojo. Let's just clarify that real quick. Our dojo is great. My parents worked very hard to make sure that our dojo is very nice. But I got put in my place real fast after this giant horsefly comes in, man, and like bites me, and I'm bleeding everywhere. And I'm like, guys, am I gonna get a disease after this? And these locals are laughing at me, and my feet, everything stayed black. I can't stop sweating because it was just like a weird, crazy experience. And there's a whole bunch of little instances that I'm sure you can recall as well, like this.
Yeah.
Where everything kind of gets put into perspective of like, this is real. This is not what you saw on Instagram. You know, I'm in it right now. I am in the country right now with the shop owner that does not speak any English, and I'm using the best sign language you've ever seen to just buy this little candy bar right now, right? So, and there's a lot of instances like that. So then the one thing I'd ask from you then, because I need it for today. I need it for today to take on for the rest of the day, inspiration for the athletes. What do you feel like one of the biggest life lessons you've learned is from being able to travel? Because I think that travel component is something that I want all young athletes, anybody listening, to understand. Is like, you get to travel. You get to see life. You get to experience life. Very similar to yourself. I could call anyone. If you put me in a country, I guarantee there's like a 90% chance I could call someone from that country if I needed something.
Yeah.
Right. And because of these experiences, because of this sport, because of what we've done, that we get to this, get to this point. But what's something for you that you feel like, oh man, for sure, I've gained, I've benefited, I've learned from this.
As far as traveling or just experiences?
Travel, just the exposure to the world.
Yeah. So, just so the viewers know, so I was born in Thailand, so I was adopted. So, like, I would say right from the start, early on, even at age 3, man, because it's interesting what we can remember. So when I came over, I didn't know a lick of English, and so one of the early shows that I watched was Star Trek. And I know it's kind of corny, but Star Trek taught me a lot about different languages, and in that show, just to kind of give some context, there's different species. So right from the start, Cam, I was seeing all these different aliens, if you will. So when I would see like an African American or an Indian or someone that looked different, to me, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like, this is actually dope, because I'm used to seeing like weird looking creatures on the screen. So when I saw someone that was different, I'm like, I can get like I can understand that. So I always kind of vibe with everyone. And I kind of grew up in a, predominant white kind of community. I'm kind of redneckish, if you will. But thankfully, I never had to experience any type of racism. I had friends from all different groups, but I also made sure that I was approachable. And, whether that was by accident or design or maybe kind of fear-based, like, well, let me be nice to this person because I don't want to be bullied. So, and it got better over time because of martial arts. So when and I haven't really been out of the country that much, but Italy was pretty big. And even just traveling to Italy, because I think we stopped in Germany. So, but anytime I go anywhere, bro, I take it as, and like you already nailed it. I don't have to do this. I get to do it. And I've been to like a lot of different states and just seeing a lot of different cultures. So I would say the biggest experience I get is just that, just being in the moment and just realizing that, we all want the same things as human beings. And it doesn't matter where you're from. Like we all want to be loved. We all want to be heard. We all want, the basic needs like shelter, food.
For
So
sure.
so when I realized like, man, we really are all the same, but we're just kind of disguised differently because that's all it is, because our bodies are just vessels, but we all have, emotions, feelings. Now, some people, regulate that better than others. Some are kind of,
Sure.
questionable, but ultimately, man, I've learned that everywhere I go, there's a new opportunity to learn something about the world, myself, and just the people around you. But you have to be open minded to it. It's like the white belt mindset or the Shoshin mindset. It's like walking into any experience with the notion like, hey, there's something to learn from this. Yeah, man. I hopefully that answered your question, but I grew up different, so I understand, Cam, when you like you're in third grade and you have your lunchbox and like kids are smelling this weird food. Like kids looked at me like, dude, I had one. I want to be careful about how I say this, but I had one. There was a student on the bus when I was in middle school. She like this person looked at me and said, "Nick, I'm not sure if you're black, white, or do you know like what are you?" And I was able to answer it, but then I looked back and I was like, damn, she really asked me that question.
She really put that out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because some people are just blunt like that, but I would say that experience, like many experiences, like we're talking about, it's kind of like a melting pot. All the experiences make us who we become today.
True. True.
Hopefully, that answered your question.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the really the question that stands out is like, what Thai food do I really need to try then? What do I need to go get at some point soon?
Pad Thai, bro. Pad Thai.
What Thai done?
Pad Thai is very good. Yeah, dude, I loved it, but there's a lot of good stuff. Now, I will
Yes,
say,
no.
like, yeah, well, I will say, like, a lot of things are kind of Americanized, if you will. So I don't even know if I'm getting like the true pad thai experience. I was at a food truck the other day, bro.
Real one, real
Yeah,
one. I'm talking.
exactly. So like I have friends that are in Thailand now. I have a friend that she used to do karate, but she's a teacher and she's saying the food's amazing. So maybe one day I'll make it over. But if not, it's okay because I'm happy with the life I have now. But if that experience ever comes up, but to answer your question, pad thai is the way to go. But who knows? Do some searching. Like you might find that there's another amazing Thai food. And if you try something different, let me know and I'll try it too.
You'll be the. I'll be like, oh, I just tried this thing, so let me go take a look. How do you feel like all of this transfers? Between experiences. We talked about a lot of different things today.
Yeah.
Between experiences from the highs, the lows, the how do you program, or like how do you kind of work for yourself and try to get that base so you can build something forward. Like how do. And I want to talk sensei to sensei.
Yeah.
Just to be real. And I think if anybody else listening as a sensei or as a coach, it's kind of an important thing just to know that there is a network and we do have similar challenges. But how do you take for you personally, how do you take the mindset, the approach, and apply it every single day with your students?
Yeah. So again, it's one of those, and what's a great question. So I take the notion, and I've already said it, that I don't have to teach, I get to teach. So that's number one. And I know that it's a privilege to be able to teach. And I think that's important because, I've seen instructors sometimes, and we all go through it because we all have bad days. But if I put my like bad foot forward, if you will, that's going to ruin, a student's experience, especially a kid. So something that I learned early on is like, people will do what people like them are doing. And no one cares what you know, Cam, until they know that you care. And you
Yeah.
said this like early on, like, whether you got third at this tournament or, first at the world championships, when your athletes know that you care, but when the students know that you care, they're going to listen a lot more. So that's number one, just being in the right place, but also understanding that, I'm experiencing life for the first time, just like everyone else. So when I'm teaching a lesson or just, interacting with students, I'm here for the first time, just like you. So I've had to give myself some grace there because I know a lot, or actually, I don't know much, but I know karate, I know jujitsu, and I know a little bit about something about, human connection and also being different as well. And I would say something else is, man, we wear so many different hats as senseis. People don't understand that. Some people might think like, oh, here's Nick, here's Cam, they teach karate. But a lot of times, bro, is when you build these connections, you become kind of like a counselor or a therapist. And I've had many people come to me with like issues on marriage, relationships. And the first thing that I always say, bro, is like, I'm very transparent. I'm like, hey, I'm like, I thank you for coming to me. I want to hear what you have to say, but I may not be the best person, but at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be heard. So there's a lot of hats that I'm wearing. So, but ultimately the message is, I approach from a place of love, and it's not a scarcity mindset because, it's an abundance mindset because I'm sure you've seen a lot of people come and go in your life, especially students, and I don't take it personally. So if someone's with me for 3 months or 6 months, I just hope that every interaction I had with that person was the most, 100% or close to that I could give, to that person. And if people decide to leave, bro, I don't take it personally. And it's easy to do because let's say you're my student. I'm like, Cam, I've been with you now for like 3 years. Like, I thought we were homies. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah. Like we still are. But some instructors, man, some coaches, I'm sure you see it, they take it personally. I don't because I'm a good sensei. I know that I am, but I might not be the sensei for everyone. So, yeah, man, there's kind of a lot of different answers I feel to that one particular one. But ultimately, I approach it from a place of love. I understand that, this is a season of your life that's important to you, as far as students go, and just being approachable, man.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I think you worded it great there, and you highlighted some of the key components of like, man, your hat switches within the minute.
Oh yeah.
Like you're going from like high performance coach to then, oh, I got to be janitor for a second because this kid spilled everything. To then right
Yes.
over to salesman because you got to talk to a new student that just walked into the door. Right over to to a teacher, right, and talk to a parent about the kid's progress and how it's going, and then just cycling through that within the minute, right, minute by minute by minute is it's a big challenge. I'm sure we could have a whole separate podcast about that one too. If you let me back on one day, we'll definitely run through that. But no, I couldn't agree more. I you highlighted that perfectly, and just having that mission statement to be able to then always fall back on of like, and that's something that I talk to coaches about too, is then that purpose piece, that why, that what I'm trying to get out of this for myself to the environment around me, then allows them, whenever you get frustrated, you fall back on that. I'm upset with this moment, but I'm trying to give the best experience.
Yeah.
So that's who I am, and that's how I'm gonna respond accordingly. So no,
Yeah.
you highlighted it perfectly.
Thank you, bro. I did have one final question for you before we hop
Please.
off. I think it's probably maybe it's the elephant in the room, but like, what is it going to take for karate to be back in the Olympics, bro? Because I'm surprised it's like I wish it was still a consistent sport, and not to get political because I know there's different organizations, but ultimately, bro, because you're a coach and because you have a lot of influence and a lot of people in this kind of network that we're in, from your perspective and from what you've learned or obtained, if you will, what do you think it's going to take for karate to finally be a consistent sport? Because there's a lot of sports, bro, that are in the Olympics, and I just scratch my head and I'm like, this should be karate, not this.
Right. Well, let's just clarify the difference real quick, because I think sport karate is the primary go to the Olympics, right? To where then Kyokushin, traditional style, maybe not so much.
Sure.
The challenge with that is from a viewership standpoint, people want to see people get knocked out and don't understand the art and the meticulous craftsmanship that goes into how difficult scoring a point might be, right? People like you, that's what we need. That's our first step.
Yeah, thank you. And you.
Stories like this, man, to highlight the fact of like what really goes into everything that we're doing. It's so easy for anybody to be like, well, why when I'm watching this drill, right? Like, why would this sport be a thing? No, there's so many layers that go into all of this, just like a lot of the other sports, right? Now, people like you is exactly where it starts from. And I think it continues by the next piece, which I mean, I'll just go out and say, I really don't care about, like, there's no organizational feud in my mind.
Yeah.
I really don't care. An athlete's an athlete to me. And if you're coming to train, you're coming to train. For the punch is punch, kick is kick.
Yeah.
Let's pull this stuff together and let's make something happen. Now, if you preface by saying, hey, I reside with this side, Cool. Again, I really, it really does not make a difference to me.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help people get better. You know, like I grew up in this lane, so I'm in this lane. I actually want to go to AAU tournaments, man. I just haven't found one that's local enough or within the schedule. I would love to go just
Dude,
to
they're
be a
good,
part.
man. Like, I mean, like they have great athletes. So I just want to put put that out there.
Yeah, totally, totally. I'm all in favor. I'm all in favor. The next piece, then, is between people like yourself who are hustling like this. We need to give an option, and I'm working on it. I'm doing my best. It's not quite turning over yet, but hopefully this will be me getting out there will be the manifesting that needs to happen. But turnover effect to the point where now two things happen. Young athletes do not see the wins and losses,
Hmm.
meaning like I'm not good at this and I'm not going to stick with this because I don't feel like I'm good enough at this from a young age, you know? Um, and I'm not going to say that I'm the biggest proponent of like participation medals and all that kind of stuff, but the follow up then becomes, really engaging the 5 to 12-year-olds on just get as good as you freaking can. I don't care about anything else. As your sensei, I really don't care. I love you guys all the same.
Hmm.
You are my students, and I care about you because you're my students. Now, if you win or lose, perfect, awesome. Let's run it back the next day. Somebody else is going to win or lose, right? That message needs to be ingrained in the young ones. The reason why is because then we have a higher retention into the teens in later years. The higher retention means more viewership. More viewership ultimately then leads to more dollars over the course of like watching, being a part of that. The bigger population is always going to have bigger power.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's kind of the first pillar of where it starts. The second piece is for people like yourself, people like myself. This is where that turnover I was mentioning is kind of the challenge, but to then help give an avenue for potential professional athletes. So I'm working on the Coach Cam sponsorship method right now, and I'm not going to tell you that it's some glorified crazy thing yet, but that would be a dream of mine to say, hey, okay, you want a 6-month training program all built out for you. You're a Coach Cam athlete. I'll help you build it.
Yeah.
You need special access to other job opportunities or anything else to help support your career as far as what's going to help you then compete more. I got you, right? Or some sort of system that we can help build other professional or semi-professional athletes to where they are maybe getting some sort of love, like a kickback or something on a month-to-month basis to keep them motivated, not to live off of it yet at first, but something to say, hey, I could use this for pads, for my next trip, for just, enjoyment dinner, right? Whatever it might be. So then
Yeah.
they can feel like there's that tier to aspire to, which will again then keep the younger ones engaged for a longer period of time. And I think if we can do this, and especially with the way that the country is set up, right? We're not government funded as far as with our sports groups for the vast majority of clubs. So it's not going to be something that like, hey, we could build out a whole, camp process that, athletes go live for 6 weeks at a time and, training, get ready for a tournament. But between your dojo, between my dojo, the network that we have, sending people to different places to go train, stay with, build up, do whatever we can, that could be the first entry point to then leveling it up to then what that next, ideal position would be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I love how you always keep saying like athletes first, mindset and just understanding that it does start with us. And something that something that you mentioned, but something that just, came to my mind just based on past conversations is, I feel like once these current folks that are, leading these organizations, I'll just put it at like that, but once they pass, and not that I, would wish that, of course, but when time takes over, let's just say that
Sure.
when we move up, or like, when you move up, I feel like our generation is so well collabed with a lot of different people where eventually it's a no-brainer because we've already seen how two organizations can work together, athletes kind of cross training. That was something that was happening pretty often back, in 2010. I would see athletes doing both. I know some people are like kind of, oh, like then you got to be loyal to one. No, like if you want the best experience, you got to go to these different,
Yeah.
organizations. So I think it'll get better over time because we as humans, because we're living it now, because because how people always say, oh, things I wish like, or like, back then in the old days, it was like, no, these are the good old days.
Right. Right.
So No, I think that's a pretty cool perspective. One last thing before we go, Cam,
Totally.
if there's anything that you could change, and maybe you kind of already answered it, but or maybe it's kind of a sub question off another one that I just asked, but if you could change anything overall about karate, not just the sport or the self defense or the hobbyist that you were mentioning, but if there's one thing that you could change about karate that could benefit the entire world, what would that change be?
Man, you're making me feel like I have a superpower. I'm like I have all the power in the world. Okay. Man, you're gonna love this answer.
I can't wait.
All right. Nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing. I don't think, okay, fine. All right. I guess two-handed throws to come back, like, right. Or like, more than 5 seconds before a referee says walk karate. I don't know. Like there's so many like clean techniques that are getting called back sometimes, but really, let's be honest, like sports have progression.
Yeah.
All sports have progression. And, to sit and complain about where the sport's at, I'm not a big fan. There's always a gripe. There's always a gripe. There's always the negative route, or I don't like this person who's in charge, or maybe this is not the way to go. Nothing.
Okay.
We grew up in my dojo as traditional sport and practice.
Yeah.
Right. We're not just a sport dojo. For my athletes, I'm a sport dojo.
Yeah.
But for, Timmy that comes in every Tuesday, I'm Sensei Cam that's teaching how to be fundamentally a strong karate person, right? And then for my adult class, for my women's self-defense class, it's how to protect yourself in a dangerous situation. How can I use this to actually benefit myself in real life?
Yeah.
It's not just one tier. And if there's, okay, fine. One thing I could change, I guess, is the perspective karate has in a
Yeah.
lot of other martial arts, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. And I said this in a video, and I'll go out and say it again. I think people are only good at what they practice.
Sure.
Okay. And I might lose you on this, Nick, and that's fine. That's fine. We can go at it. All right. But let's say I'm I'm a solid, proficient jujitsu athlete.
Yeah.
Right. If I have not worked any submissions or grappling work that are self-defense based, that are not against another solid jujitsu practitioner, then when I'm put in that situation, it's going to take a second for me to calibrate what's going on.
Sure.
Right? The same way of any karate athlete, of me not being in like a situation where how do I actually use this in like a close quarters or like a realistic situation where someone's coming at me with a weapon or with their fist, whatever it might be. It's going to be the same skills, but calibrating what we're doing, I think I'm solid. I'm a solid proponent for. I practice and I get good at what I practice. If I practice self-defense methods, I'm going to be really good at self-defense methods. If I practice only sport, I'm going to be good at only sport. If I practice traditional kihon, like elbow to elbow, just hitting all day long, right? I'm going to be really solid at that, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, overestimate themselves of how good they could be in quote unquote real life situations. But then a lot of other people, I think the vast majority does not give themselves enough credit to say, hey, oh, this is how this would transfer to this actual situation or wherever else it might be. So as a result, I guess that's my one thing that I would quote unquote change is the perspective that, karate kind of gets in a lot of other martial arts.
No, that's a great perspective. And just kind of to add on to that or to piggyback what you said about the jujitsu, no, bro, you didn't lose me at all because that's what we teach. We teach self-defense first and foremost against someone, an untrained bad guy, right? So if you go to a gas station, that's who's likely going to attack you.
Right.
And, we teach against punch protection and, being able to improve your position. And then ultimately, once you get to a level where you have, those basics under your belt, if you will, then you start learning the sports side where a lot of people kind of have it ass backwards where they learn all these cool sports moves, but have no relevance in a street fight. So yeah, I can definitely feel you there. It's the stuff that's going to work, in real life, as they say, or realistic situation. And then once you have that, then you can do all the other cool stuff, but
For sure.
yeah, there has to be a foundation there for sure. Cameron, where can folks, reach out to you, whether it's on social media, if they want to get a hold of you or your website, like where can folks, find you?
Totally. Yeah. I think the two primary, I mean, Instagram is probably my biggest platform right now. I have a lot of events though. People are more than welcome to come. I have training camps, tournaments, and everything that me and my family host. And that person-to-person interaction is one of the best. So being around for any of those events that we have, everybody's welcome. It's not contingent. I mean, granted, some of my camps might be for specific age groups, but that's only because it's a certain thing that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But there's something for everyone, and I'd be more than happy to host anyone listening. Reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, my website if you want sessions or you want to learn a little bit more about mental skills or mental strength training. I got you there, coachcam.co. But then let's keep it going. YouTube, I'm on YouTube now too, trying to make some more long form content. If you want to keep hearing different subjects, just like this one that we, a lot of stuff we talked about today, subscribe there. We can make it happen.
Very cool. And Cameron, one last thing, I promise. If you could give any last minute shout outs to anyone that comes to mind, and I know your list might be long, but
Oof.
just maybe a couple people, just like, oh, okay, this person, that person. Who would you like to give thanks to right now?
Well, yeah, you gave me a list, right? But I'm gonna keep it simple, and it's gonna be for the two people that help me every single day and deal with the crazy that is Coach Cam, and that's my mom and my dad. It all comes back to them. If it wasn't for them, then I will tell you right now, and I'm a firm believer, I will never be able to do 90% of the stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
The stuff that they built, the environment that they have, the people that they've influenced and helped, and the ripple effect that's continued. I hope to be what is half of that. I aspire only to be what is half of the stuff that they do. And they set the example, they set the stage, and I'm the following act. So let's see if I can do it.
Yeah, man,
But
you're the
I'm
upgrade
so
version.
grateful for them and everything that they've done. It's all because of them. Everything's because of them. So
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yes. We're just living in that state of gratitude, man. I want to thank you, bro, for coming on. This was an amazing conversation. It was nice to be able to catch up and kind of get a chance to kind of know you a little bit more, kind of directly or indirectly, if you will, over this platform. But yeah, man, we talked about your early um, beginnings, if you will. Your time competing, coaching, and just your mindset of how you've helped athletes, and that moment when you realized that there was a problem and you were able to address it, and now you're using your message as a positive influence for the athletes today and also for the future. So man, like, I'm super proud of you, bro. And like, you don't have to hear me say that, but everyone that I've talked to, speaks very highly of you. A couple of the guests like know you personally, so it was a no-brainer to have you on. So just the fact that you came on and shared your story, man, that means the world to me and for the Kumite Lifestyle Podcast. So Cameron, thank you for your time today.
yeah, it's a lifestyle. We make it the lifestyle the best style. So I'm here for it. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely, bro. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.